Good afternoon and welcome here at the Red Couch at PCIM in Nuremberg. My name is Michael Brunn. I'm the editor-in-chief of the E&E magazine, and through the whole trade show we are talking with important people about topics that are moving the industry right now. You can watch us here live at the trade show or later on via YouTube or our Facebook channel. And right now I would like to welcome Norbert Pieper, Senior Vice President Business Development from Vishay, and we will talk about sustainability, a promising area for electronic components. Welcome, Mr. Pieper.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for participating in our live show.
Mr. Pieper, why is sustainability important for Vishay?
Well, when we defined the schedule for today, we were not aware that photovoltaic decline, especially in Europe, is a big issue. And we just have recently the announcement of some difficulties in installing wind parks in the shelf of the North Sea. We were not aware of this. However, Vishay, as a huge company which is manufacturing still in Europe, we have many employees and many factories. We believe that we should improve the environment where we live in. We should try to make our life and conditions sustainable, and this starts, of course, with manufacturing methods. This starts with setup of manufacturing lines and also how we establish ourselves in the living environment of our employees. Of course, Vishay is, we are celebrating this year the 50th anniversary. Means we are manufacturing since more than 50 years electronic components, and we are Vishay since 50 years. And we have a lot of experience, especially in power electronics, starting with passive components as well as semiconductors. So in this case, we can say since more than 50 years, we are dedicated to this market, especially the power electronic market.
So sustainability is a very broad area, and which parts does your company address?
Well, when we talk about sustainability, we are not exclusively focused on alternative energies. We basically start, as I said in my opening, already with the manufacturing methods. How can we improve the daily work and the process parameters to use lesser materials, to have a lesser carbon footprint in the world and still maintain the performance of the products. This is part number one, how we see sustainability. Of course, the next step is energy saving. Sustainability is actually not only photovoltaic and alternative energies. Sustainability starts with the consumer saving of energy. So Vishay is very much dedicated to improved semiconductors with very much reduced forward switching losses, conduction losses, and also sophisticated driver ICs connected with switches, and as well sophisticated passive components as energy storage components. So the first alternative energy or sustainability discussion we have is the energy which every single consumer saves. And everyone has set-top boxes at home for cable TV, for satellite TV. The standby power is still a big issue, and everyone knows that this is not a given to reduce the standby power of the so-called silver boxes below 1 watt and even less. Of course, not to forget, and this is the main goal, this is the generation of energy, where we have alternatives in our times, which is wind, photovoltaic, and also bioenergy. And this is, of course, where most of the peoples are focusing, most of the companies are focusing. But we take this even, and sorry that it falls down, we take this even beyond this, and we talk about alternative transportations. Everyone knows about start-stop, hybrid electronic vehicles, full electronic vehicles. This is not only all about battery life, this is also how to store and support burst and peak energies, So alternative transportation, this is as well a very much focused area of Vishay. Another topic is lighting. Even if it's not called alternative energies, but everyone knows that the lighting industry is at his point where the majority of the light moves to LED lighting. LED lighting is not all about just LEDs, which are illuminating the area. This is all about drivers, what kind of components we can use, and how can we fit the standard conventional components, and Vishay does many of this, to the requirement of 100,000 hours lifetimes of an LED cluster. And finally, we have the energy distribution. Decentralization of energy generation is an issue today, and it's not so simple to connect and conduct many windmills and photovoltaic systems to a common grid. To handle this, of course, special components are needed, especially crowbar resistors, to just ground the energy which we have generated and we cannot use in the moment. And finally, not to forget, and this is the last topic of our how we see sustainability, is energy exploration. Still, the world is using a lot of fossil energy, and the methods to explore and also to earn this energy, to harvest this energy, are getting more and more sophisticated. The boreholes are going lower and lower into the earth, and the temperatures are getting up. And also the environment is very often concerned. So Vishay develops, especially for these applications, high temperature components as wet tantalum capacitors, which can be used in this kind of atmosphere, and also to make sure that energy harvesting is in line with the environmental scheme which we have.
So you already mentioned some points to the next question. What kind of technologies does Vishay offer for those parts? Maybe you can sum it up a little bit.
Yes.
Just concentrating on the technologies we
yes.
had, the areas you were active in now, the technologies.
Yes, and I think, thank you for telling me that I should sum it up. Of course, Vishay is a broad liner. We are manufacturing almost every discrete components which are used in the market, especially for power electronics, especially for fast switching and high efficiency applications. So if we talk special components for sustainability, first of all, we have to mention our MOSFET technology, latest generation of trench MOS technology, where we have managed to reduce the RDS on as well as the switching performance improvements. On the semiconductor side, of course, PFC diodes, and what is mainly the discussion point here, it's a PCIM, is high-power semiconductor modules, which are containing rectifiers, PFC stage, inverter stages, where we are using our own silicon technology, together, of course, then paired with some silicon carbide for specific application, and we optimize the silicon inside the module to give the customers the opportunity to use the semiconductors and silicon materials more optimized. But most important today is the storage of energy. Everyone knows that the battery have issues with peak and burst power. To support this, Vishay is developing capacitors in terms of energy, intermediate energy storages, electrolytic capacitors for DC link applications in big inverters, as well as small high voltage arc guard protected multi-layer capacitors. Multi-layer capacitors are in the market since years, but basically surface mount components have the disadvantage that for high voltage they have always a very small creepage distance. So we mastered to implement these kind of technologies. In addition, high power resistors, we have some new introductions here at the PCIM at our booth. It's just down the hallway, where we have introduced our first steel grid resistor, have power ratings up to 20,000 watts, and is scalable to customers' demand. We also know that it's very important, especially in the sustainable industry, to watch about the cost factors. And not to forget energy distribution. We have our capacitor division, ESTA, which is doing high voltage film capacitors for STATCOM application, power factor corrections, and of course for the high voltage DC transmission lines.
You mentioned a lot of areas you're working in. How do you estimate the potential of this sustainability market?
Well, we are component manufacturers, so we are not the specialist in how will a photovoltaic market look in the future, or how we see certain server or backup power supply markets in the future. We study, of course, the market informations. We pull together all these. We found, and we find this interesting, that the market growth, and we talk about the next 5 years, will be certainly in the 2-digit area. How much? Can be 11% or can be just a little bit below 10%. I'm not sure. For sure, the industry in terms of energy generation is at a point of new developments, of new decisions. Every country has to execute this, and we believe this fits perfectly our growth strategy, which comes from internal growth, which is also close to a 2-digit growth for the next 2 years, and you can see it in the corporate reports. We are talking about 8% sales growth, especially related to sustainability, mobility, and of course connectivity.
So that would be my next question. You cannot forecast the market or the markets. We're talking about different markets, but how does it influence your own revenue, and what are you expecting for the future?
Yeah, I already answered this question basically in the revenue growth, but also interesting is that when we work with our customers, and Vishay have a $2.6 billion sales turnover, 50% of our design activities which we have and new projects which are looking forward are related to industry application and automotive. That means it's a very conventional market. And if we take this apart, we see basically that 48% of the design activities in the industrial segment are related to alternative energy generation, which is wind power, photovoltaic power, and of course tidal power, which is in the, I would say, in a babysit stage right now. This is basically what we see, and we adapt our production capacity exactly to the demands from these markets.
What influence have your activities in sustainability regarding your other business areas? Are there any changes made or planned for the future?
I think the biggest challenge for manufacturers in the electronic industry is the cycles. We just went through to a financial crisis where all of a sudden certain ordering and manufacturing capacities have stopped. We see some issues related to the computer market in the Far East. We see the decline of the outlook, I would say it very basic, of the photovoltaic industry in Europe, or especially in Germany. And it's a challenge for a manufacturer like Vishay with a very broad range of discrete components to always have the right capacity in place to support whatever cycle comes up, whatever new development comes up, whatever new demand comes up. So our strategy is also to participate in all market segments evenly, to make sure when one market segment is demanding more capacity, more resources, that we have these resources in place, and possibly, and most of the time, history have taught us this, another market is not as strong as especially the sustainability market here in Europe.
Finally, we were talking a lot about the products for the sustainability market. You already mentioned that. How sustainable is your own production?
This was
always a very interesting question. There's a lot of companies talking about sustainability, but what about your own products?
Yes. We take this also very serious. Since 2002, Vishay have an executive group inside the company is dedicated to environmental issues. Well, a lot of companies are having this. We are a member of the EICC, and we are applying to the code of conduct of the EICC to report, starting 2011, our global carbon dioxide footprint as a whole. That means we started in 2002 to define by component, by manufacturing line, how is our carbon footprint in the world. And we are almost through to be ready to report this on a component base. But one example, and I was a little bit prepared on this question because this is normally the question, Vishay was able to reduce for the European manufacturing plants the electricity consumption. And we always normalize this, means when the manufacturing output goes up and down, we normalize this on a certain measurement figures. We reduced from 2002 to now the electricity consumption by 26%. Means 150 gigawatt hours per year down to almost 100 gigawatt hours per year. This is a 3% energy consumption reduction, especially for electricity, for all of our European manufacturing plants. And I would say this is a real good support and proof that we take the sustainability very serious.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Red Couch talk about sustainability, a promising area for electronic components, live here from the PCIM trade show. Mr. Pieper, thank you very much for being our guest this afternoon.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for watching and listening. We wish you a very successful trade show. And if you are interested, you can find this interview and all the other interviews at the Publish Industries YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.